and they are not a good master. I look at this. Third wave feminism says it empowers them by convincing women to commit genocide against the female sex in utero. And that's what it is. It is a genocide. Third wave feminism tells us that masculinity is toxic. Masculinity isn't toxic. Masculinity is marvelous. As a mother of sons, as a wife,
You saw the clip. I think that was a Republican person. Her name is Dana Loesch. Dana Loesch, or whatever. I don't know. Her last name's kind of weird. Anyways, she seems to be pro-masculine in all of her ideals and stuff like that when it comes to like men and stuff like that. So masculinity is not dead. You got a lot of seems to be a very large effort to strip that out of men, strip that out of boys, and it comes from a lot of different places, right? So in the Black community, it comes from the mothers who are almost like this, and it's weird because like the mothers, some of them are just forced to do that. They don't really see, excuse me, a better option. They're just in survival mode. But unfortunately, that ends up emasculating their own, the male sons, the male children. But then even with the white community, they have the same situation. The sons end up getting emasculated, and all that masculine strength and all that energy just kind of disappears. So obviously, you see the manosphere and you see people coming out of it. You see the messages coming out of it. Masculinity is not dead; it hasn't died. And of course, you have a wide range of people telling you what they think masculinity is and what it should be and whatnot. The general gist of it is men are the ones who have to create the order and the security for everyone else. And as much as people are trying to get rid of that energy and that force, it's not going to go anywhere. So one thing I would say is, and this is from a guy who grew up in a very anti-masculine kind of environment where that was it wasn't necessarily that it was frowned upon, it was just not really cultivated where I grew up. I had to kind of just hold on to it internally. Granted, I have my own role models that I had that exuded what I would like to believe is masculinity. Of course, you have people telling everyone under the sun that it's wrong, but obviously it's needed because when you look at the situation, especially what's going on in the world, the average person, I think we have a loneliness epidemic in the country. We have all kinds of issues. We have a loneliness epidemic. We have a drug epidemic. We have an epidemic of self-deletion. We have an epidemic, even in the dating world, that's starting to die off, right? Because the men don't want to speak to the women because of the trauma that's happening on the other side, on what the women are experiencing. But then the women, their egos are getting gassed up so bad now with social media that you can't even talk to them like adults. You gotta treat them like Germans in World War II, right? You, you can't even it's weird because everyone, obviously everyone's always trying to make ego moves over the other person. Uh, where does masculinity fit into all of this? I think where it fits is that you find order in all the chaos. As a man, you find a way to trudge ahead. Um, Now, in my book, whenever you feel like things are rough and stuff like that, when you have to cry and all that, is perfectly fine. But in my book, I'm not going to cry in front of a woman, and I'm not going to cry in front of people who rely on me. I'll do that off to the side where nobody can see me. If I got to deal with the process alone, it's perfectly fine. That's in my book because I've seen what happens when you try to express that side of yourself and then someone sees it and then they never see you the same way ever again. I've seen that. That's not fun. So yeah, um, masculinity's not dead, and despite a lot of people's attempts to destroy it, like a certain ethnicist group, to destroy that energy in men, to make the women kind of the faux masculine and the men like the faux feminine, it hasn't really worked. Men are still men, women are still women. Nothing's really going to change that unless you're just going to unless you're going to inject something, change the DNA, do something crazy, which I could get into that, but I'm not. It's not really going to change. It's just you're just going to piss off a lot of men and you're going to make a lot of women miserable, which obviously that's not working since the population's kind of dwindling. So as the world is falling apart, even so, you still have men trying to build themselves, trying to better themselves, going to the gym, and you have some on their toes about it, kind of, thinking maybe I should, maybe I shouldn't. One thing I would say is to the guys who are on their toes about it, I would say find a group of guys who you can grow with, who you can get strong with, and become strong. Because, yeah, I know some of you were raised by your mother, but here's the thing: most of the people in your life of the opposite sex, a lot of them, are going to rely on you. So if you were raised by your mother, you don't even know how to carry yourself as a man. It's going to be extremely difficult because what can she show you really? She she went after a man, right? Yeah. So there's more to it, but just understand that that angst, that force within you, it's a good thing. It's not dead. It's not bad. You want to conquer, you want to win something, you want to become something. It's a good thing. That's that's what the world runs on. Just don't do it in a way where it'll end up where you're behind bars or you end up doing something crazy, getting a DUI or something like that, or getting someone killed. Don't do that. And testosterone running through your veins, all of that stuff, it's important. It's good. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise. Uh, and don't think you have to turn yourself into a yes man in order to get in a woman's good graces, because as quick as you're in their good graces, you can be right out of it the next second. But if you end up losing who you are because you think, oh, that's the person I have to be in order to please this person, who women, they really don't know what is really. They just kind of flow with the seasons. It's not really something they're super conscious of. It just kind of happens. The younger ones, right? When they get older, I think a little bit more wisdom hits their heads. But you can't even really tell them, which is why when I listen to like female influencers and stuff like that, I can only like take it with a grain of salt because it's hard to tell when they're being honest because they're so used to just the way they operate is just different. It's not honest. There's no honor in it. It's not it's not personal. It's just a survival thing, right? That's another thing. Don't take it as they're like against you. It's just for their own survival. So, you know, yeah, masculinity's not dead. And I think it's just high time that any guy supported they support the guys who want to grow, because obviously we're not really good at supporting each other because we all kind of just fight over the same thing, and we all know what that is. So yeah, we got to stop that. Masculinity is not dead.